Hey, so I wanted to make a video about the Matt manifestation. Matt is my boyfriend. He is amazing, and he is clearly the person that I was supposed to meet when I made the intention last December. Or I should say, it wasn't even when I made the intention. It was when I just instantly knew that just like I had manifested all the wealth I have, just like I had manifested the change in my physical image, that the same thing was applicable to creating the relationship I wanted. I just knew instantly. I don't want to even say it was an intention. I just said, okay. It was though. I mean, I said, okay, my ultimate romantic fulfillment is a done deal. And I just knew 100% faith in that, the general part of that. That's why I've made a few videos on here where I'm just like, if you have a specific person, don't skip the general. Like, don't, do the general. It's like, it's such a feeling of peace knowing that you're going to be deliriously happy. It just takes the pressure off the SP thing. And it also gives you the ability to just change your mind if you want to, because so many specific person intentions are misguided, are coming from a need for validation or a need to feel worthwhile in the eyes of a person that ditched you. Those are things that when you fix the stuff about you that's making you want that and feel that way, that you're not going to want that person anymore. It's that simple. So there's no downside to setting up the general. Just know it's going to happen. Just know it's going to happen for you. If you can do that, or just envision yourself being deliriously happy. Actually, I want to talk about how I kind of accidentally did that. I accidentally envisioned Matt. I've talked about this, I think, before, right after I met Matt, but I want to start at the beginning. So on November 30th, I made a list in a notebook of what my ideal relationship would be. I mean, it's basically the entire length of a notebook page. And I don't think there's any physical description of the person, because to me, that is just, I don't know, limiting what you want to a physical description. I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me. Like, the characteristics a person would have to have in order to fit into my ultimate desire would sort of put them in the mindset of being somebody who's healthy in general. And other than that, like, I don't care short or tall, I don't care any of that stuff. Like, none of that was on there. There wasn't anything about physical appearance. It was just, how are things between us, and what do we both want? And what is our relationship like? And I just made this big list, sort of to clarify it for myself, I think. I didn't think that I was creating something when I did that. I just did it to be absolutely clear and to sort of catch the feeling of what this thing would feel like. And so I did that on November 30th. It was the weekend after Thanksgiving. It has since come out that at the same time, the weekend after Thanksgiving, Matt was having a conversation with his adult son, who I guess was needing some parenting there for a while, and just having a conversation with him about how things were. And the gist of it that I got was basically, after that conversation, Matt felt like, okay, it's safe to focus on myself now and getting the things that I want, which was me. And anyway, then of course a few days later I had my sort of Neville Goddard epiphany, and set that, got it, that I was going to definitely get the thing I wanted. I didn't even remember that I had made this list, honestly, at the time. And then after that, I was sort of knee deep in the Neville Goddard stuff for like maybe a month, and then I started making this YouTube channel. I felt compelled to make a video here. Why? I don't know. I like being anonymous. I love that nobody knows who I am. I like that nobody knows where I live. I've never understood why anybody would want to be well known. It just doesn't appeal to me. And yet, for some reason, I felt the need to make a video, post it on the Neville Goddard subreddit. I got a bunch of subscribers overnight, and I just said, okay, like, I think I'm supposed to be doing this. And that feeling of being compelled to do it, you know, came filtered through my rational mind, and I have all kinds of reasons for that, you know, that I could come up with. But the truth is that, and I've said on this channel, you don't really know why you're doing things. Once you know something is done, you're on the path to that, you're gonna feel like you're doing things for one reason, and it turns out later that it was an integral part of your manifestation coming to life. And so Matt was around at some point, around the Neville Goddard subreddit. He only discovered Neville Goddard's stuff last October. And so he was around at the time that I posted a video, and he started watching my channel. And he says that the first time he saw me, that he had a sense of knowing that, like, I was the person he was looking for, with nothing to go on. I might have to make a video with my stepfather, who is a PhD in the Jungian psychology field, to describe what that was, because he says there is a psychological explanation for essentially seeing somebody and feeling like they're the right person for you. I digress. So I thought I was making this channel for the reasons I thought I was. Turns out that I was going to meet Matt through it. And so anyway, that was like January 30th, or it was January 30th the first time that Matt ever made a comment on like anything that I posted on Reddit. And from there, there was like a comment here, a comment there. He always stood out to me for some reason. Like I have, like, you know, there's the comment history on Reddit, and like one of the second things I ever said to him, I think it was the second thing I ever replied, or third, I just said, you know, you feel like a member of like my male tribe. Like, you remind me of my dad and my brother, and you know, you have this protective thing. Like when you address me, it's like that vibe that I have with my male family members. And I said, I love you guys. Like, is there any truth to that? And we kind of, you know, it's like we got personal right away, weirdly. But I was under the impression, because he mentioned having an adult son, I was under the impression that he was a lot older. So it didn't really cross my mind. You know, I don't know, like if I would have had like some sort of interest in him romantically from those exchanges, they didn't happen, because I was thinking he was like, you know, 15 or 20 years older than me. It turns out he just had a kid when he was 20. So eventually we started, that came out, first of all, that he was like a peer and not somebody older than me. And then we started talking privately on Reddit. But I still had all this other stuff going on in my life that I've talked about on this channel. I was going through this whole experience with my friend, Steve, and I had all these feelings and this drive towards that relationship, which, looking back on it now, was integral to the whole thing playing out. It affected my relationship with my ex that I had an overly close relationship with, that needed to distance and change. The thing with Steve affected that. The thing playing out with Steve sort of brought me full circle with that relationship, that we really aren't a romantic match. And it, the interesting part of the timeline on Matt's end of this is that right before lockdown, when I said, okay, I'm gonna go towards this thing with Steve and see what happens. I'm gonna follow my instinct here, or my heart urge, or whatever the hell you want to call it, and I'm gonna see where this goes. Right around that time, Matt's computer broke, and then thanks to coronavirus or something, he couldn't get it fixed until almost the thing with Steve was over. So like, he didn't watch any of the YouTube videos that I made about that, and the timing just sort of played out perfectly. By the time all the rioting was happening in the US, Steve and I weren't talking. We were already to the point where that was sort of over, and Matt sent me a message just kind of inquiring about my safety and wondering how I was doing. And that kind of kicked off us starting to talk again, and in a more personal way. But still, I wasn't, you know, if you look at this channel, like May and June, I was still sort of like confused about the stuff with Steve, and everything was going down with my ex and me separating. Like all this stuff was happening simultaneously. And it wasn't until Father's Day weekend. This was a major parallel with Matt and me. I was spending that weekend kind of thinking about stuff, and it occurred to me that I was really still believing that there was nobody good out there, and that's why I was kind of stuck on the specific person and stuck on the Steve thing. You know, anytime my mind would go outside of those two people, I would just be like, yeah, but there's nobody good out there. There's nobody I'm gonna want. There's nobody that's gonna want me. Everybody who's in my age group, which is like 35 to 45, there's tons of good people. You know, I was just like, there's nobody that's good. There's gonna be too much baggage. I just had this really shit attitude about it that I sort of was under the impression that I had handled already. And I realized, no, like I have this gut feeling about this. Like there's something, like it's just not gonna happen for me. And that's operating me. That's driving me around. This is stupid. I just thought about it. This is stupid. I know that I've already made this intention about my romantic fulfillment. I know it's gonna happen. That can't happen. That can't, you know, these two things can't be true at the same time. There can't be nobody good left and I'm ultimately fulfilled romantically. Somebody's gotta be good. Plus this is just a dumb idea. This is just a dumb, you know, negative like dating program idea that you must find the right person by the time you're 35 or whatever. This is dumb. And I just kind of let it go, and I sort of had this really good feeling wash over me about it. In the meantime, on the same day, Matt was having some of his own mental stuff go on, and he was thinking about me, and he said, I just have to stop. I just have to let this go. I don't think there's anything between us. I've tried talking to her a lot. Like there's nothing there. And I don't know why I felt this sense of knowing, but I'm just gonna let it go. I'm not gonna talk to her anymore. It's really sad when I go back to like maybe like 10 days before that. Like we had a conversation that was really nice, but I just like wasn't there for it. You know, I just kind of dropped it after a while and went about my day. And then like he revisited it like 4 or 5 days later. We were talking about like, I was talking about how I was like kind of bored and how I have a piano and I should learn to play the piano, like spend some time on that. And then a couple days later he's like, you know, so did you make any horrible noises on the piano yet? And I'm like, no, it's like this short conversation. And when I look back, it makes me so sad now when I look back on that. It's like, you know, he was just like, here's a last ditch attempt to like get a conversation going. And then this is happening on the same day where he's like, I'm gonna stop reaching out to her. And I was like, I gotta stop thinking there's nobody good out there. The next day, I messaged him. The next day I messaged him and I asked him if he wanted me to send him a copy of Reality Transurfing. Because for some reason, that morning, I just thought I should contact my friends that I talk to, like, and just see if anybody wants a copy of this book, because I like to give stuff to people, especially stuff that's as life-changing as Neville Goddard, Reality Transurfing, all this stuff. So that, like, the timing was crazy there. It was like the next day, I reached out to him. Later that day, we had a conversation where I was just like, man, this guy is he's so cool, he's so funny. Like, we had a conversation that appealed to me on a level that I hadn't had with him. Like we were being way more of like our true obnoxious self in front of each other. Or at least I was. At least I was, and then he liked it and expressed the fact that he liked it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's good. So that was when things started, and that was sort of the correlated timing. More stuff had to happen before we could actually get into a relationship. And that's another story for another time. But the thing that really gets me about the whole thing was the times throughout the last 8 months where I just got tired of thinking about specific person stuff. I got tired of thinking about the Steve stuff. I got tired of trying to imagine these two highly imperfect relationships that I've had turning into the thing that I know I really want. And I just allowed myself, for the fuck of it, to imagine what it feels like to be loved by the right person. Like, what does it feel like when this right man, who is like my husband and my protector and my everything that I want, what does it feel like to be loved by him? And it was just instant, you know, I could instantly feel what that feels like. And I could, and it's him, it's Matt. And it was him physically in the fuzzy scene that would show up when I would be feeling this. It's him. He's that guy. And I don't, since he was already commenting, I think, at this point, and I had already sort of felt the vibe that he brings via writing, you know, I didn't know what he looked like when I was envisioning that stuff. I didn't know what he looked like at all up until after that day where we started talking, like, for real. So I couldn't picture him, but I had a picture of him in my mind, and it's what he looks like. It's what he actually looks like. I can't explain that. And it was the guy in this sort of vision that popped in my head when I was feeling what it would feel like to be loved by the right person, and what that person would feel like. So I don't know, I wanted to get that out there. I'm trying to think if there were any other pertinent incidents. Oh, at one point when we were talking, Matt said to me, so I think I manifested you, because I've been thinking about the relationship I wanted for the last 7 years and trying to change myself into the person that fits into that scene. And I was like really blown away that he said that, because that's exactly what I've done since my ex and I broke up 5 years ago. I've been, you know, and especially the last like 3 years, I've been thinking, okay, how do I not match with this thing that I want? You know, what are all the ways that I need to be different? And then I just went about changing those things. And some of them took a lot of just knowing it was done, because I didn't really know how to get from where I was to where I needed to be. I didn't really know how I was going to become that person. I just knew that that was what needed to happen. And Matt's stuff is really similar. You know, he would imagine scenarios, and how would he need to be, what would he need to be in order to be that person in that relationship. So there's a timeline that goes back pretty far here where we were sort of doing the same types of things for the same reasons. It's really cool. I don't know. I just wanted to make this because I know that this is a big deal, especially for women out there. I think there are a lot of people that get attracted to this channel because they're in the same general age range. Like, you know, you hit 35 as a woman and you're just like, shit, a lot of the time. And I just wanted to talk about this. Like, I would say, you know, don't give up on what you really want, no matter how old you are. And I made a video here earlier this year where I just happened to mention that I had sort of opened my mind to dating somebody who had kids, which I never wanted. But, you know, a thought occurred to me at one point during the day, on this day that I made this video, that, you know, what if I like really loved this person's kid? I shouldn't close my mind to that idea. I shouldn't close my mind to anything. I should just know that the perfect thing is going to happen for me. And it turns out Matt has a kid. I mean, it's not a kid, it's a 23-year-old. But, you know, it's just funny how, like, you can form an idea of what you think the thing is going to be, and the truth is that you just don't have the ability to truly know all the ins and outs, all the what have yous of the thing that's really going to make you happy. And so I just wanted to put this out there as kind of a don't give up. and look what happened to me. And I'm just super happy, and Matt is getting here from Iowa tomorrow at 10 a.m. and it's only been a few days since I've seen him, and I am just super happy about everything, and he's amazing, and everything just keeps getting better and better. That was an intention that I had after we met in person. I said, okay, the only thing I want to intend for here is just that everything keeps getting better and better and better between us, no matter what that means. And that is playing out every day. Things just get better and better. He's amazing. So